What's good, folks? Welcome to another edition of the Cover One Film Room, the show that gives you the hows and the whys behind both the good and the bad of the Buffalo Bills. I am one of your two hosts, Anthony Prohaska, joined as always by Eric Turner. And Eric, we've got some more good to go over this week. The Bills got back to their winning ways. No jinx, fingers crossed, as they defeated an opponent that I think coming into this game was a fun matchup on paper, a fun matchup schematically. The Buccaneers gave the Bills some problems. They're a good team, even though they've been banged up for a majority of the year at important positions with quality guys. But the Bills come away with a victory at home against the Bucs. We're here to break down a bunch of that, including a bunch of the successful things on the offensive side of the ball with some critiques as always. But Eric, before we do that, how you feeling? How you doing? How's it going?
Like you said, man, they got the dub. That's the most important thing. It was a matchup I was extremely worried about, and especially when you're talking Bills offense, where they're struggling and where they are right now this season, and going against that Bucs defense, and more specifically that defensive structure and style of defense that they play under Todd Bowles. And so I was to see a shootout, I was pretty happy with the way that ended. I think like the over under going into this game was like 45, and I'm with the weather being kind of windy and gloomy, I'm like 45 seems high, but
Yeah.
looking back, there was something to that, and I was glad to see them get that 44-32 win against the Bucs.
You know, it's funny. I think I tweeted it Sunday morning. I went out. I don't know what I did. I went out of the house to do something, and like a huge gust of wind hit me in the face and almost knocked me over. And it kept going, and I was like, man, like this wind sucks. And the first thing I thought of, I was like, oh no, like the Bills pass game and everything that's already going on. Like, what a horrible day for it to be windy like this. And I thought the same thing too. I was like, is this going to be like 20-17 because the wind is so bad? And then how's that going to affect things? I had a similar thought with Bulls and the defense and all their pressure packages and third and longs. What if they can't run the ball, the pass stuff? Oh my goodness. But yeah, the Bills essentially put up that spread of 45 all by themselves. Bucs kind of came close too, getting into the low 30s. And yeah, shootout where we got to see some of the old, hey, what's the Bills playbook? It's just different pictures of Josh Allen doing some stuff, busting some things out.
What's the Bills' identity? Just Josh Allen. It still is, like a couple years ago, right? It's still Josh.
It's funny how everything comes full circle. It's like we were talking about last week's episode. But yeah, Allen made some plays in this one. Some just, mutant stuff that was really cool. Some mutant stuff that wasn't really process sound, and you'd probably ding him from a process standpoint, even though the results, kind of made it work out. But we saw some tweaks for some things on the offensive side of the ball, and we talked about on last week's episode. They didn't need this holistic revamp and change. And yes, there were some vulnerabilities and some issues that they had from a roster standpoint or maybe schematically, but they just needed some tweaks. They just needed, to turn, push a couple buttons, move a couple levers, turn the dials a bit. We saw that in this game, and some good tendency breakers for the Bills in this one, I think, is really kind of a good starting point of what the Bills offense did and how they found success.
Yeah, it's going to be a good film room. We're going to do a lot of offensive film. We'll talk in some, big topic points on the defensive side, but it's a short week. They obviously have to play the Texans tomorrow. Big game. I think they're en route right now. They're traveling, I believe, right now, or may have just landed. But so some news did come out, this morning with McDermott on WGR with Sal this morning about who's going to be in, who's going to be out, and the three big names that will not be playing in this week's game against the Texans are wide receiver Curtis Samuel, tight end Dalton Kincaid, and wide receiver Mecole Hardman Jr. Obviously, two wide receivers not playing in this game. They've been shuffling, several receivers in and out of the lineups, whether it's because of injury or because of off the field issues. And that is the person, obviously we're talking about Keon Coleman. There's a lot of questions on, what he's done on the field, the things that he hasn't been doing properly off the field. And from what I'm told, it'll be the second game in a row Keon Coleman will be inactive for the Bills. So the Bills essentially are dressing five receivers. It's going to be Palmer, Elijah Moore, Tyrell Shavers, Khalil Shakir, and Gabe Davis. What are your thoughts on that? And when do we see Keon again? If You
Oof.
know, they already kind of ripped the Band-Aid off about this. When will we see him then?
You know what's crazy? Like that, obviously I'm gonna answer that, but the first thing that comes into my head is like, man, I I want to see Elijah Moore and Curtis Samuel both get more reps, and I feel like we gave sentence a couple weeks ago by being like, oh, they should get it more, and then
Jinxed him.
yeah, we jinxed him. Moore was out
Yeah.
last week. Samuel was in. Samuel did some things. Now he's out this week. Moore would be in. A little frustrating on that front, but yeah, I don't. I tell you, and you and I were talking about this a bit off air. The Keon inactivity is so there's so many variables to it because it's not like he was setting the world on fire when he was in there. It's not like it's a purely
Right.
attitude thing or a disciplinary thing where you're like, okay, we got to send a message, but also like we got to get this guy back in the lineup because he's really important. It kind of hasn't been that way. So in theory, you could keep sending that message
Yeah.
after week, and I feel like that's where it is until he significantly changes or they're in a spot where they're really hamstrung and they have to get
Mhm.
the lineup. I think they're content to just keep rolling with it, especially given, maybe where I'm a little biased here, but some of the things we wanted to see more for the offense and how that would mean less Keon Coleman anyway. But I think that's really in line with how they kind of want to deliver this and the lack of necessity of them having to get him back in the lineup. I think it could be a while unless something drastic happens at that wide receiver spot.
Yeah, I just think back to early in the week last week, McDermott saying they're trying to figure out the proper combinations. And I think that was right around the time they signed Mecole Hardman. And obviously there was a lot of talk about, Gabe, whether he was going to be elevated from the practice squad. A lot of things happened last week, including Keon missing that meeting late in the week. So there's that late week shuffling going into the game. Obviously, we broke the story about Coleman being inactive last weekend. And so again, that Band-Aid is ripped off. And at this point, you got to make him earn it back. And to be honest, after this game against the Bucs and how the Bills pieced it together,
Mm,
it's hard to argue that guys that are elevated and playing or played last week against the Bucs, it's hard to argue to take them off the field because that was a pretty good combination last week. And so I know it may seem harsh, but when you read the tea leaves, when you talk to people around the team, it kind of makes sense given what we've heard about Keon Coleman and how he hasn't quite matured yet. And we're not even talking about the on the field stuff like you talked
mhm.
about there. So if you're not quite mature enough, you're not acting like a pro, and you hear again some of what the players are saying in the media about the situation. There's more to this story. I don't think they're suspending him or making him inactive for this game because he missed another meeting.
Mm.
I think they're making him earn it back. And just because he was at practice on time this week for what 2 or 3 practices
Yeah.
doesn't mean you've earned it back,
Yeah.
on the field or off the field.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and it's all within that backdrop of they don't need to kind of gloss over or rush the earning back because he hasn't made himself this valuable piece where you're like, okay,
There it
we
is.
gotta
Mhm.
we gotta kind of skirt the rules a little bit and get him back in there. It's not. I don't want to. What Pickens and Lamb, had something kind of with Dallas, and they sat out for a little bit in that Dallas game, but it was
Yep.
like. That's a much different situation because it's like, well, CeeDee Lamb is crazy sick and
Yeah.
Pickens is volatile but good at times.
Mhm.
And you got to get them back out there. It's not that way for Buffalo. And almost like the worst thing that could have happened for Keon is the way the receivers and the offense
Right.
performed in his absence against
Yeah.
Tampa Bay, because it goes even more so to that, like, of whether you're trying to send a message or not, it goes more to you being like, see, man, like, look what we can do when everybody operates accordingly. Or even more so, if you really wanted to go negative, look what we can do without you. Or maybe he's thinking that or not. It just,
Right.
yeah, it muddies those waters for him of them having to get him back in the lineup.
And kudos to those guys that late in the week, again, they practice all week and they're in certain roles. They're in on certain plays. It's very strategized and, who's going to be taking snaps where and what plays. And then late in the week, that happens. And everyone, from all accounts, in the wide receiver room didn't blink. Like they
Yeah.
said that multiple times. They didn't blink and they upheld their part of the bargain. And so, like you said, maybe it's the rhythm, maybe it's, he didn't make himself quite the commodity or value to immediately inject him back into the lineup. But overall, maybe it's really about the guys that did play and how well they played against a very talented, defense and scheme. And I think that, again, McDermott was looking for the proper combination, and it's hard to argue that last week wasn't it. And so when we get into the offensive stuff last week, overall, we talked tendencies for the last month or so.
Yeah.
The script for this game, the run pass script was very good. The ratios were great. Early down runs, were only 45% on first and second down. They were majority pass early in downs, especially some of even the first down passes that they did pass were beautiful, and we're going to talk about those. But I loved their ability to realize that, okay, Josh Allen is still dangerous, and we need to make the league aware of that again. And against the Bucs, they made it quite clear. Josh Allen is still Josh Allen.
Yeah, it was nice to see, and how he kind of functioned within, or because of, however we want to kind of verbalize it, those little changes and tweaks in the tendency. You mentioned it, them having, the changes on first down and second down. This was a team that came into the game, like we talked about last week, with a 37.3 pass rate on first down. So it was heavily skewed to the run. And not only did they tweak that a little bit, like you mentioned, but even kind of some of their under center stuff going into the game against the Bucs. They had a 20.8 pass rate when under center against the Bucs. That jumped up to 40%. So a 20 percentage point increase is significantly huge. In shotgun going into the week, they had an 80.5% pass rate. In the Tampa game, that dropped down to 73.3%, which was more middle in line with the week, versus being at the extreme ends. They kind of flipped the under center aspect a little bit and then came more towards the mean in shotgun. And then you tie it into kind of the play calls and the concepts and how they dressed it up and what they did. But really, it was just more of those little tweaks. And it's crazy how you just reduce some tells or change some tendency and play a little bit of the, we know what you know, that you know what we know type of deal. And especially on first down, I'm not going to steal the thunder too much, but not only passing on first down, but the play action on first down, both of those things. And then a couple times the play action, you're getting it off of that blast counter look. Like it was coming off of their core concepts, a lot to like from the percentages, but also what they did schematically within them.
Yeah, when you talk about the tendencies and breaking them, going to the pass is one thing, going to the play action is another. Adding the speed of Hardman on that deep shot early, even though he had Shakir underneath, but
dude,
making them threatening them deep, right?
Yeah.
And then you had Curtis Samuel, running those vertical routes and taking the top off the coverage. Those little things opened up so much for Josh Allen in the intermediate and underneath game. And it was an element that we've been wanting to see. And all it took was, again, making those pass calls, those play action calls on early downs when the defense is expecting you to run it. And then just adding some speed outside. It's not that the Bills haven't had speed. They've had the speed there to lift the coverage. They just haven't done it enough. And we saw in this game that it opened up so much for Josh underneath. And then he got into that mode of, okay, I can take those deep shots. I can take that deep dig to Shavers. I can, go ahead and even extend the play and get outside the pocket late in the game and still hit Gabe Davis on a dig across the middle for a big first down. So it was nice to see the tendencies broken. It was nice to see them run more play action. Thank you. Keep it up. And it was nice to see, once again, Josh Allen show that he is that multi-dimensional weapon that the Bills still have and that defenses have to fear.
Yeah, it was nice to see. Like I said it during the game, a little bit of the nice comment there from John saying, including the running backs and the pass help. We will most definitely be talking about
no doubt
through this game. Very nice that 2 big touchdowns came to the running backs in this one. And just seeing Allen do a little more of the Josh Allen things. I said it during the game, like he looked like 2022 Josh Allen, like the kind of, hey, I'm going to step up and scramble. Just kidding. Like I'm going to fire this dot across the field. He did that to Gabe Davis on that dig. And on that same drive in the fourth quarter, he threw one to Dawson Knox like that. Them giving him some design runs in the low red zone. Ironically, some QB keeper pin and pull stuff like they did against Tampa Bay back in, I think, 2022, which is what made me think that, kind of unleashing him as a runner, more as a thrower, kind of putting the offense, as we've joked for so many years, like, hey, what's the Bills playbook? And it's just different action shots of Josh Allen doing different stuff. You got that in this game. And I think too, within that, the backdrop of, we talked about kind of what we were worried about from the Bucs defense coming into this game. They were a little more stout against the run in recent weeks, and it helps when you got someone like Vita Vea in the middle, but they came out wanting to stop the run. They had the Bills' run game kind of sniffed out to a decent degree. Levante David was calling some stuff out. Tyke Smith was shooting gaps and making plays. And it helps when they have the defensive backs that they do that are able to play the run, like Tyke and Winfield, even Jacob Parrish, who is small but a monster there. The run game struggled this easily between that, and I know we talked about the weather a bit. There could have been a real recipe with how the run game struggled of being like, here we go again, got to rely on the pass. And instead, what they did with Allen and the tweaks that they did elevated that and made up for a day where the run game really didn't get much going until it needed to at the very last drive, which was nice to see.
And that's it. Until they needed to. The pass set up the run. Because, yes, they struggled the entire day at running the ball until the last drive when they were up. I think they're up 5 at that point. The Bucs had punted it back to them, and then James Cook's ripping off yardage. They're checking it down to him underneath. Like, that's when they were at their most dangerous, and they drove down there. And like you said, they capped it off with a nice run by Josh Allen that we're going to break down. But that is it. Using the pass to set up the run. They need to show teams that they can do that. It doesn't have to be run first to set up the pass. And so, again, that's what this, show is going to be about. That identity unlocked and the offense realizing, guess what? We still have Josh Allen. And the funny thing is, there's still meat on the bone because even on some of the plays that succeeded, that the results were positive and good, the process still was kind of bad. And we're going to break down some of those plays. He was still struggling early. He was forcing some things, some turnover-worthy plays. But he was able to, again, get on track and get in rhythm via the passing game. They didn't resort to the run game and start leading on that. They actually said, you know what? We got to stick to it. We got to stick to the game plan. And that's why I liked this pass-heavy type game plan, because the margin for error, it doesn't have to be razor thin, because Josh, he may throw 2 interceptions, but he also can go make up for it because he has more opportunities. And when you give him more opportunities, you get those 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's fair. We saw some of the high variance Josh Allen come back out there, and in theme of what high variance Josh Allen looks like, and as you alluded to, and we're going to talk about, it's not always the most sound process. It is very like, oh, no. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Like, it's very kind of just like that. And sometimes you get a chest pass in the shadow of your own goal line for an interception. Sometimes you get, looking off an easy first down to Gabe Davis into a rollout and a 50-yard dart downfield to Tyrell Shavers. It's back to, I started saying this years ago, and it seems appropriate to say it again. It's the yin and the yang of Josh Allen, like those pendulum swinging moments, and the pendulum will swing left. And when it swings left, it's bad, but then it swings right and it's amazing. And what he was for a good chunk of those years, the pendulum swung right more often than not. And that's what you got in this game. The pendulum swung right. And he made a big difference again on a day where he needed to for this offense, given how the run game was going and how the Bucs defense was playing.
No doubt about it, man. So let's get into some of the film here. Let's hope that my remote works. And of course it's not right now, but you talked about that shovel pass. All right. And so we're going to see it right off the bat. And there's so many things to this play, so many layers, so much good, so much bad, I should say. All right. So starting off, I'm told that Josh initially, and he admitted this after the game as well, that Josh and the offensive line should have slid the protection to the left. So the line wanted to shift it left. Josh overruled it. And so that allowed this linebacker to obviously run free on the play. And so this right here, obviously a 4-man slide, you have a 1-on-1 here. And so Josh overrules it. So that's one thing. The other thing is, as I pointed out at the beginning of this play, Deion Dawkins should have squeezed on this play. So basically he's got to take the most dangerous guy, either the linebacker or the edge player. Well, obviously the linebacker comes. So Deion Dawkins should have squeezed. So he should have squeezed inside here and taken that linebacker. The DN would be free. Josh is throwing hot off of that DN. But that's obviously not what happened on this play either. So the other part to this is, okay, Josh overruled the line. The line would have been right. Deion Dawkins screws up. Josh has James Cook in the flats right here. Throw it to Cook. All right, throw it to Cook. He's the hot. That's why Josh wanted to keep the left side hot instead of switching it to the right side. That's why he overruled the line. Well, guess what? He doesn't do that either. Now he's got that linebacker in his face. He's trying to make a play. He makes a dumb play and throws the interception.
Yeah, when I saw this on the broadcast, it was eerily reminiscent of the Carolina sack where Dawkins didn't squeeze down. Greg Olsen talking about it in the game, yada yada, all that kind of stuff. But on tape, my head went to and my eyes went to what you said at the kind of end of when you were speaking just now. Like he sees that, right? He sees that Dennis, number 8, is going to come screaming through the B gap. He's looking at him. There he is. Uh-oh, he's free. Bang. Look at his eyes. You're there at Cook. Just spit it out. Just spit it out, especially in the shadow of your own goal line. I get that even though he hasn't been really great at pressure avoidance this year and doing some of the mutant stuff in the pocket, you especially can't make this type of decision or not take this outlet on second down in the shadow of your own goal line. And you have highlighted, the space for Cook. Levante David kind of beeline in from there. Spit it out to Cook. Take your chance with Cook kind of in some sort of space against David. Worst case scenario is you're sitting there looking at 3rd and long, or maybe Cook breaks it or gets forward a little bit. And it's 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7, something. But the throw is kind of the story for a lot of folks, or the protection. And I get it. My thing was, again, like he looks right at him. Throw the ball. Put it on that outside shoulder. Let him get up the sideline or get the opportunity to put his foot in the ground and cut back. Maybe, who knows, maybe Dean, the corner on the outside, comes off Palmer and helps make a play. But worst case scenario is you've got 2-on-2 outside with no one else out there. There's a chance it could have gone for a big play, but worst case scenario, it keeps you on schedule. That frustrated me a bit. Again, not too much because how the rest of the game went.
Right.
But, we've seen a couple of those this year where he looks at something and it just makes complete sense to take it, and he hasn't. And we've talked about how that isn't the structure of the Bills' offense and how it's important for him to keep them on schedule. And when I saw this early on, I was like, uh-oh, here we go again. Luckily, that was not the case.
Yeah, the process, right? And again, the results may be good, they may be bad, but the process is honestly more important. And you hear coaches across the league say that. And here's another turnover where they play Bucks initially showing man coverage, but they end up popping out in the zone. And you can see they want to hit Knox on that little stick route right there. But he's trapped. He has a linebacker over the top. He's got a DB, Parrish, kind of squatting and trapping it. And so he kind of, bypasses throwing it to Knox, which is fine. And he's looking outside next to Shakir, and Shakir is covered up. Okay, well, here is, the seam route by Tyrell Shavers. Now, that's a tough throw. Obviously, he's capped by a safety. He's obviously got to get it up and over the second level. So that's a tough throw on 3rd down. But again, the process is what matters. They're showing man prior to the snap, but post-snap, what happens? They drop out into a zone coverage, but more importantly, a too-high safety structure. Well, guess what? The too-high route concept is to the top of the screen. And so, again, Josh is reading this as a single high coverage, but it's actually a too-high coverage. And in my opinion, Josh's eyes should have been to the too-high beater. It's not. And again, he's trying to make this throw a tough throw, to Shavers. And then also late, if you see him reload and then stare down Shavers, who's trying to tempo it into the window. And then that pass from the right hash is nearly intercepted by the Bucks. Again, process. The process was not good on this play. It's almost as if Josh is struggling to consistently read coverages at pre to post snap and ID that picture because, like I said, in my opinion, his eyes, as soon as this rolled into a too high, should have been to the top of the screen, because if it is, watch Josh Palmer coming right here. That's wide open.
Yeah.
So that's my issue with this play and how it could have been avoided.
Yeah, that's a super fair point. I'm not going to hit too much on that too high and pre to post snap because you nailed it. I'm going to again go with throw the ball to Knox if you wanted it. I don't know what, like he had him and it's 3rd down. He's at the sticks. I know Parrish is squatting on it a bit, but you can put that on his inside shoulder. I feel like right.
Fair.
Yeah. And even before David is starting to drop, David really isn't a threat. Yeah. Right there. Pin it on Knox's left shoulder and put him right on the hash. I think Allen can fire it in there, and it's a first down. And for him to go from that to the late throw to Shavers, again, it's another one where I understand Parrish is squatting on it, and I love Jacob Parrish. But
he's so good.
Yeah, dude, he's so sweet. The interception, he triggered on the little swing to Shakir and put him in the ground. It was nice to see. Yeah, I feel like he could have pulled the trigger to Knox on the stick right there. The decision after, knowing how late you're going to be, and that's it for me too, right? Like, so this kind of ties into your point. I'm with you of like, okay, look to your too high beater, get your eyes that way. But for the sake of the rest of this decision, I don't think this decision is talked about as much as the interception that we just showed, obviously, and understandably so. But that's a horrible decision. You can see David driving to that, and then Tyke is just sitting over the top. This throw has such a low percentage of success. Allen even layers it in pretty nice over underneath, but it's like he didn't see. I wonder, because, you mentioned it too, he didn't get his eyes at the too high beater. Is he not even seeing Tyke over the top? Is it quote unquote arm arrogance or him thinking he can get in there? Is it him panicking? The decision making here for me was just very, very like meh, aside from, your point of get your eyes to the too high beater side, which he didn't. Playing it through the rest of this year, trying to make sense of what he saw and what he didn't do was confusing.
And no bones about it says Palmer should have broke out to the corner on this play. No. We're not running a split field concepts. We're not running one here and one here. We're marrying concepts to the left and right side. That's not what you want to do. That's not pure progressions. This is third down. You're not just reading coverage. This is pure progression. And again, the picture post snap is what dictates where your eyes should be. And so on this play, again, Josh started to left to right. And so he would be working left to right. But again, because of the picture that unfolded, Josh should have been working right to left on this play. So that is what you're talking about, no bones, was the issue that we had bones about it when it was Ken Dorsey as the OC and how it was not married together. So please, no on that play. So we're going to move on in this film room. The touchdown to, this is Palmer. Okay. All right. So this is the completion on third down to Palmer over the middle. And I thought Ty Johnson was phenomenal in this game, aside from him receiving, you getting that big, long touchdown, as a running back there, but his pass blocking, you see him right away. Look at his eyes. His eyes are across the field at Parrish, right? And this is important on third down. Watch how he comes across the formation and picks up that DB. And I love the route by Palmer. That dude can run some routes. He's going to be a problem. Just stay healthy, because watch him separate on this little slant and not only maintain that like 45-degree cut, but he kind of moves upfield past that DB. Just watch that in slow motion, how he creates that separation. You see the DB right here driving on Shakir. Here comes Palmer, but you see him not just stay committed here as that DB drives across the back hip. He kind of, goes upfield a little bit, and so he can avoid that trailing DB, create separation, catch the ball, and pick up the first down.
Yeah, this one was a nice throw too from Allen. He pins it right on Palmer. This was when I started to be like, okay, like we're starting to get some throws a little bit. It helps with protection, mucking everything up for Tampa Bay. I felt like Allen felt secure in this one, even though David starts to flash a little bit. But nice route from Palmer. I am very excited with what we've seen from him in this game a little bit, and getting him more as that underneath and intermediate separator, which is really where I think he shines. And his route running ability, the deception, we saw it a couple times in this game where he was just losing corners, including on the touchdown to Cook, which we're going to show later in this episode. Just really good stuff from him. And yeah, Ty Johnson had several really good blocks in this one. I also like David Edwards, number 76. He picks up David a little bit, but he gets a hand a bit on Parrish to try to impede him. Granted, maybe that influences David being able to get some inside positioning on him, but him trying to kind of marry the best of both worlds there as Johnson picks up Parrish. He's so good in pass pro. It was nice to see him, get involved as an actual pass catcher in this game. And he can be a weapon out of the backfield. And it's nice to have a dude back there who can catch the ball and do some stuff and is also it's not even like oh, okay, he's not a liability in pass pro. He's good in pass pro. He's actually effective. He's physical, good hands, good feet, good understanding, good IDing. Nice to see on that one.
This is the touchdown by Shavers. And again, we're going to process. All right. So hang with us. There are several things I'm going to critique before we even get to the big play to Shavers. Okay. So again, this is the touchdown. Bills are running their Hank concept. Gabe is number 1 outside up top. Shavers is number 2. You get a curl flat concept. That's Hank. It's Hank concept. And this is one that we criticized the last few weeks, that Josh not throwing it when there are options, whether it's the flat route, whether it's the curl route. So watch what happens here. And Josh admitted this. He goes, he probably could have just hit Gabe underneath. This is quarters coverage.
I'll throw it.
He could have just thrown that. You released your hand off the ball, separate your hand from the ball like you're going to throw it. So he could have thrown that. But I'll even go back a little more. All right. You got a 3 eligibles. You have 3 eligibles to the bottom of the screen. This is just that leverage screen that they like to run. Tell me, where is the number 3 defender? Is he inside or outside your number 3 receiver? He is inside. You have a deep safety, 2 high structure. I honestly don't know why Josh was looking to the top of the screen, right?
And who's the number 2 defender there for the Bucs? That's Anthony Nelson, essentially.
Edge,
in space, yeah.
So you have Ty Johnson right here out leveraging just from alignment alone the number 3 defender. You have that edge in a 2-point stance, and so Josh honestly could have just thrown it here. Right here. This is a nice screen. You have leverage, you have deep safety, you have everything screams numbers and leverage to the bottom of the screen. Again, Josh doesn't even look that way. He wants to work the hang concept. So we're going to go to the hang concept. So Josh could have thrown it to Davis. He doesn't. Instead, he wants to scramble around on a 3-man rush. So he extends the play on 3rd down. He runs around a little bit, realizes, oh, you know what? They're doing a good job of containing. And great work by Shavers. He extends from the out route, extends up the boundary, extends the play, extends his route, and keeps it outside that corner, who is a quarter half player. And he's able to get behind the deep safety for the touchdown. And what a catch from him from the end zone view. I'll show you in a second. But just, again, process bad. Results pretty good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these are the type of plays that in prior weeks in that, low volume type passing offense, that run first to set up the pass type offense, Josh was making these mistakes of not hitting those easy underneath routes. And again, so then when those 3rd down plays were happening, where the degree of critique was a lot higher and a lot larger. Well, obviously here he had more opportunities and he dug himself out of a bad decision or bad decisions, and he was able to make the Bucs pay.
Yeah, this I'm surprised. Well, we'll see. I'm just waiting for people to yell at us because we're like nitpicking or complaining about this. But and so I have the direct quote from Allen about this. Again, this is 3rd and 3. Allen says, quote, "We checked out into a zone concept. They, meaning Tampa Bay, ran zone, and I should have probably thrown it to the back, meaning Ty Johnson, or to Gabe. I went 1-2, and they were both open, and I should have thrown it, but I didn't." And then Shaves did a fantastic job of just turning up the sideline and making a heck of a catch. Yeah, you highlight Shavers' track right there. He hits the flat, sees that it's not there, immediately speed turns, baseball turns, gets right up the sideline. That deep half player up there is Benjamin Morrison, rookie corner, but he happens to be kind of in the safety spot there. Helps that he gets lost a little bit. And Allen fires a rope downfield, which is really nice. And it's, as Charles says, they ran around to end up right back in the clean pocket. Yeah, just kind of riding the wave, riding the chaos, riding the lightning. But this is really frustrating, honestly. Like, it's 3rd and 3. You look, the curl is open. Just hit it. Gabe is open. It's there. And then my other thing is they've done it so much this year, and people have critiqued it. He's always just throwing the leverage screen or the quick bubble or the quick flat. And it was there almost more than it has been all year. And again, he recognized it, like, should have thrown it to the back or should have thrown it to Gabe. That's maddening that he didn't do either. It was a javelin, like 50 yards downfield. Yeah, look at the catch from Shavers, the concentration, the hands catch. as the defender is closing down on him. Like, really nice catch from Shavers on a friggin' stupid throw of a rope of a throw from Allen. Like, it just, again, this is one where you're looking at it and you're just like, oh man, that's bad. Oh man, that's bad. Dude, what are you doing? All right, cool. Never mind. That's 6. Let's get back out there.
Yeah, just incredible stuff. Big throw though, big arm, great catch. And again, the process was not the cleanest, but you can't argue with those results. And here's a play that this might have frustrated me more than the other turnover worthy play. So they're running essentially mesh here. And initially, I want you to watch, he's looking outside. Here's one. This is technically usually 2, but he gets tripped up in Palmer. And then Josh immediately just gets to the sit route right here with Knox. And Knox lost his guy. His guy is right here in trail.
Ty Key has no idea where he's supposed to be right now.
Right. And that's what's so confusing about moving, Samuel around like this. Who's 2, who's 3, it's very confusing. And so it works from that stance. And so you see him, Smith try to get back in position, and Josh is just staring him down the entire time. And that is the one that is intercepted on the back end. And I know from the broadcast, you see Johnson is wide open. There's no doubt, but we have to admit 2 things. 1, Johnson's the last guy in the progression. 2, you can see him initially. He actually is included in the pass protection first.
Yes, it's a check and release for him.
Yeah, it's a check release. He's a valve. He's an outlet. So generally speaking, especially in these type of downs when you're bringing extra guys, it's a 5-man rush. Johnson usually be staying in. So I think Josh probably has that in the back of his mind. Mm-hmm. Was he open? Absolutely. Palmer got picked the guy that is usually picking up Johnson here. And so, yes, Johnson was open, but Josh was staring down Knox from the get-go, and it led the DB right to the ball. And if he just moved on his progressions, maybe he does make it to Johnson right here on the right side of the screen, which he probably should have. And then it would have been off to the races. I think Johnson probably scores versus Levante David here in the post high safety and Winfield. And so, again, the process not good here, even though, again, Josh overall had a good game. Production-wise, the process was not good.
Yeah, you nailed it with this one. I just, speaking for myself, I said during the game, he had Ty Johnson wide open on this, and you hit everything I wanted to hit. Like, you can see Johnson doesn't naturally release right away. Like, this is a check and release. So I understand Allen not getting to him, even though, if he is reading this out and you see the coverage, I could see someone being like, oh, shouldn't he feel that Johnson's coming open, especially if David gets caught up? But that's a check and release safety valve, like you said, last in the progression. It really is just the stare down. And, Allen mentioned it too. I think he spoke on this one talking about, I forget what he called Palmer, but he referenced, that route falling down and how it impacted him a little bit on this one. But his eyes lead them to the ball, and you can see, if Palmer doesn't fall down,
he would be getting the ball.
That's fair. He gets across face, and as Latu crosses up with Dennis, you could see the motion. I know they switch a little bit. Maybe Morrison is staying over the top on Palmer, but again, it's 4th and extremely, extremely short. 4th and 1 there, 1.5. Even if he completes it to Palmer, it probably ends up being a first down. But again, another kind of, this one is, not good result and not good process, which is obviously not as fun as, bad process, good result.
Yeah, right. And so we move forward to the leverage screen touchdown by Ty Johnson. It's a 4-strong formation. I love the motion by Samuel, and the blocking out front was just gorgeous. So on the snap, you're going to see Josh just throw it out to Ty Johnson. You have Knox and Shakir doing a great job on the interior defenders. And then the motion by Samuel gives him really good angles and leverage on the DB. He does a good job of inside out, right? Kicking this guy out so that you could get into this alley with Johnson. And then Johnson turned on the turbo jets and just took off to the races. And on the backside of this play, these are the plays. I said it multiple times. I said it on social media. I said it on Turf to Tape yesterday. The play by Shavers here is the play that I guarantee was played in the film room in front of the entire team about that effort. And when these big plays happen to running backs, especially whether it's a run or pass game, It's blocks by receivers and tight ends down the field that spring them. And Shavers shows that firsthand here, being able to run down the field right at the 5-yard line, picking off McCollum so that Johnson could score.
Yeah, this was so awesome. You always get that kind of proverbial, oh, the measure of a good team is how their wide receivers block. And just what you get here, and not to kind of overlook Dawson Knox here, even though David shoots under him, but what you get from Shakir on Parrish, number 25, what you get from Curtis Samuel outside, both of those dudes at the point of attack, great job. This was honestly one for me too, that when Samuel did this, I was already like, and this, we were, hey, give Curtis Samuel more snaps for what it'll mean for the pass game, yada, yada.
Right.
When he pulled that block off, I was like, okay, it was talked about when he was signed. He is a good blocker. He's given effort. Let's get Curtis Samuel more snaps. But this was great to see on this play from Samuel and Shakir. And then Shavers, like, look at your 3 wide receivers all making significant impact. I guess that's kind of combined impact and block and call it impact. That kind of works. 3 significant impact blocks on this play. Shakir and Samuel right at the point of attack, allowing Johnson to get through, and then Shavers downfield. Like, that's awesome to see. And also A+ S tier celebration from Ty Johnson. Like, working the whole, they'll faking the hammy injury that's been done for a couple years now into that celly. Shavers following along with it. Like, just really well done. We should just do like celebration film rooms where we're just
Sally highlights. Yeah,
that's exactly what should be breaking down the dance form and the coordination. That was huge, right? That was at the end of the first half. They put the Bills on top. Granted, Tampa Bay came down and got a field goal to make it 21-20, but the Bills needed a double dip because they were getting the ball coming out of the half, and they got the first part of it with that touchdown there, and it was a chunk play. It was an explosive, even though it wasn't, a down the field air yard type of deal. Absolutely tremendous job from the Bills wide receivers on that play, and this is something we've come to expect from this team.
All right, moving forward, big in route from Shavers on this play.
Dig.
First down, passing, play action. Samuel, for the love of the game, route here, taking the top off the coverage, and really nice pocket and throw from Josh. Look at the route. Look at him drop his hips. Look at Shavers drop his hips and break to the middle of the field. Really nice throw by Josh. Obviously, he can make that throw in his sleep. I love the tendency breaking. I love the play action and the big throw down the field. Just look at the separation between the third and the second level. This is why they need to commit to calling 30% or more play action plays week in and week out.
Yeah, this is where you start to kind of lean into your own tendency and flip it on its head, right? Like, teams know, okay, they're sitting there and they have, coming into this game, they only pass it 37.3% of the time on first down. Hey, when they're under center, they run the ball 80% of the time. So you're sitting there and thinking like, okay, it's first down and they're under center and they're not a huge play action team either. Okay, cool. You're probably getting run. So the Bills flip that by passing and by having play action. And like you said, you see the effect. Look at that entire second level get sucked up. And then you get the dagger concept. Samuel clears out and runs the dudes off. Shavers is wide open underneath. There's literally no one there. Like, it is a giant void because Dennis gets sucked up, number 8. David gets sucked up, number 54. Winfield, 31, comes forward. Even McCollum, 27, a little bit. This is one of those two where, like, you can't even tell what coverage the defense is playing because
you literally
there's
can't.
No one there. Like,
and the best part, Ant, is you think about it. Look at the base defense you're seeing here. This is base. Yeah. This is the edge player once again dropping out. Again, hey, we got to stop the run, right? You got to stop the run. We're gonna throw base. That's what we talked about in prior weeks where with the Dolphins they sent out base. 40% of the time or something on first down. And so you're using again that's why these tendency breakers are so big and so important. Because you're getting the matchups you want, and then you add in the concept off of play action, and you're getting that space. You're getting that space to attack, and those chunk plays to flip the field to get these big plays to guys like Tyrell Shavers.
Let's start to galaxy brain this. And Joe Brady was doing all of this in the first 10 weeks on purpose to build up all these high tendencies so that way he could flip it on its head in the back half of the year and defenses wouldn't know what to do.
I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. Also, I don't think I'm alone in this, but like there's something just very aesthetically pleasing about a quarterback hitting the top of his drop and just ripping the dig on dagger. Like, I love when the Rams do it. I love it's usually on the backside, but it's such a part of the Shanahan and McVay offenses. He had multiple digs in this game. He should have had another one to Shakir, but the conversation for another time.
Yeah, no doubt. And so moving forward, we're going to look at the Cook touchdown here. This is our making it look easy play of the game, presented by Easy Loan Auto Sales. Josh Allen to James Cook. I love the play call. One, because you're inside the 30-yard line here, fringe red zone. This is right after interception. That
literally right after. This is the
literally right after. It's
after
what they call sudden change. So there are certain plays on your play call sheet as a coordinator that if a sudden change happens, like a fumble or a turnover, you get out there and you ride that momentum. And that's what they did here. They get James Cook on a great matchup up the sideline, or just up the numbers, I'm sorry. And this is a play we've seen, Josh Allen complete to Ty Johnson, to James Cook. He gets the matchup on what appears to be the edge player once again, and you get that big play down the field. Just a great call. And more importantly, the timing of the call was amazing. I love the pull here by the backside guard. Josh kind of go this way like he's going to roll out. And just, it's such a pretty layered play that we've seen. I think it was the Lions game last year, right? We saw this to Ty Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah. Same play, essentially. This time to James Cook. This is, again, our making it look easy play of the game, presented by Easy Loan Auto Sales.
I love, the Cook release through the B gap.
Yeah.
I love that he takes this inside. Essentially you're getting cover one here from the Bucs. David rushes, and not that anybody cares what the Bucs are doing, from a Bills fan standpoint, but like David rushes and then drops out almost to like, I'm wondering what he was supposed to do on this one. Like,
was he supposed to take Cook?
Yeah. Like, did he go, mistake? But Nelson peels off immediately, which made me think he's just got peel responsibility and it's a cover one blitz. But David's action is a little interesting, but it doesn't matter. Either way, David would have been dead to rights. Nelson is dead to rights. So nice for them to finally hit the running back on a rail or a wheel. Teams have been so keyed in on it, especially when they run it out of mesh rail, which they've done so much. But this was so nice to see them finally being able to get that rail, that wheel, that hit, and it's a tutty. And Erik, I'll set it up. Feel free to knock it out of the park. Let's watch Mr. Josh Palmer, the solo receiver to the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
Let's just watch him put McCollum in hell with how he sells the over and pops it out.
I mean, again, you got that movement by Josh in the pocket, and a lot of times versus the single high sets, when you're running these type of like play action type plays, you're getting that deep over from Palmer. And so McCollum, what he does, he tries, anticipating and going to this inside hip. You see Palmer snap that off, and we call that a deep V route. Robert Foster, when he was with the Bills, used to run this route really well.
Would have been wide receiver one if he didn't get hurt. I'm going to bang that drum forever.
Yeah, I'll never let that go. But just great separation. And even the eye in the helmet. Look at the helmet. Josh is looking across the field like he's going to be running that deep over route, but instead snaps it off. And so he's open too. And honestly, at the end, he's like, oh, I was open too. But obviously the result was very good by getting the ball to James Cook.
If anything, we should ding Allen for not hitting Palmer on this one. No, just an awesome route. We talked about it so much. Like he operates with such deception in his stems. And this one, it's not anything dramatic. There's no like sudden or sharp movement. It's just the eyes and the body language from Palmer mixing within the concept. So great job from Palmer there to separate. And obviously, great job by Allen pinning this on Cook. Cook making the catch. My heart sank a little bit because I was thinking like, oh no, the drop like he had in Philly a couple years ago. And I was just like, this is not the time to kind of have that. But yeah, great ball from Allen. Nice feathered throw in there into Cook's hands, and he comes down with it. And for the multitude of reasons, I should say, this play was our Easy Loan Auto Sales, making it look easy play of the game. Sponsored, of course, by our friends at Easy Loan Auto Sales. Easy Loan Auto Sales is Western New York's premier buy here, pay here car dealership with locations in Buffalo and Lockport. Regardless of your credit history, they offer the fastest car buying experience around. Get approved and reserve your vehicle all from your phone. Start your approval at easyloanauto.com, and you could be driving today.
Just good stuff. I love how they even moved the pocket for Josh on that.
They did a couple times in this game. I love, I want more boots in general. I'll settle for play action, but give me more boots, or like what they did in this game, those half boots. I like it. Get him on the move a little bit. Let's move the pocket. Let's sell it with a pulling guard, throw some stuff back against the grain or lead it out front. A lot of possibilities. I like that.
Right. So moving forward, 3rd and 11 here, Josh calls the alert and he brings in Knox and Johnson to help protect. He's expecting some kind of pressure. You can see the routes. So it's basically a 3-man route, a seam read by Shakir over the middle, and then just, stop routes up top by Samuel and Palmer. Protection again, Ty Johnson and Knox sort out the extra rushers, and Josh just throws the big ball down to Samuel. Samuel double catches it, but he is able to get his feet in. And I love how they sorted out this protection. And so you got 3, possibly 4 rushers from the right side of the Bills offensive line. And then you can see there are 4 stacked to the Bills left. So you have to account for all those guys. So you see, watch how initially Ty Johnson moves inside because he sees this backer coming. And we saw that happen right early in the game. But he realizes, also we're having a guy come out here. And so with help in Knox, he sorts it out. So Johnson says, okay, you take the inside linebacker. I'll take the DB right there. They sort it out. And that's what gives Josh the time to make this throw to Samuel.
Yeah, I also like how Knox kind of like almost flings Johnson a little bit. Like, I feel bad for Antoine Winfield.
Get out there.
Yeah, just here, take him. And
that's that nonverbal, right? That nonverbal communication. I'm just going to push it right into him.
Yeah, here, put your hand on the hip and just create some displacement on your own teammate and chuck him into Winfield. Yeah, like how they sorted that out, gum up what the Bucs are doing, and really nice effort and focus on the double catch from Samuel. Yes, he should have caught it the first time, but the focus here, as he knows that he still has a chance, he brings it in and drags the feet. Like, that is, if we could just pretend that this throw was right to the boundary like that and he caught it and dragged his feet, like, that would be amazing. But yeah, double catch, real pretty. And Eric, if you go to the wide angle, I just wanted to show Curtis Samuel's stem on that. I liked how he attacked McCollum on this one. There's a subtle gear change right here at the 45. He steps up in this gear, moves to the blind spot of McCollum. As right as McCollum opens up, bang, he sinks his hips and slams on the brakes. Look at the separation he creates, and then we get that really nice double catch. So I liked that stem from Samuel on this too.
And this is what we've been talking about when it comes to the X and when it comes to playing outside the numbers, and the Bills have struggled there this year. Just by adding speed, one, you're getting off coverage with the single high coverage on this 3rd and long play. But by adding speed, you're showing that, hey, he can run this goal ball here. And that is that little changing gait and changing speed right there. He's making it look like he's going to run a fade or a goal ball until he's not, because he could throw on the brakes like that, hinge to the boundary, and make this catch along the boundary. That is what speed does. It forces off coverage at times. It forces the DB to think about, hey, he's getting into my blind spot. He's breaking my cushion. I need to open up and bail. I need to turn. And that's why, regardless of, if you can run the entire route tree in the Joe Brady system, having speed on the outside will open up things for Josh. But more importantly, these routes are easy throws for Josh. Josh could be on the left hash making this throw, no problem. Not many quarterbacks can, but Josh can take advantage of the entire field. And so having speed out there at X or, on the boundary is going to help this offense. And that's why, unfortunately, Samuel won't play this week, but they need to do that more, whether it's Samuel, whether it's Mecole Hardman when he gets back, whether it's Elijah Moore. You got to have speed on the boundary, because those plays on the boundary, those hinge routes, those stop routes, those plays are there every single play, especially if the Bills do have their running game going where you're getting those single high coverages, you got those extra guys in the box. Those type of routes are going to be there for the Bills offense.
Yeah, and if they can start to get that access again, outside the numbers, the boundary stuff, even the vertical aspect, this is, again, like you alluded to and we talked about last week and a couple weeks before. That's why, we want more Curtis Samuel, more Elijah Moore. That threat and that speed, threat, and verticality on the outside, and or the ability to create separation off of that speed or with route running. That's why Palmer helps, but that's why getting more Samuel, more Elijah Moore, being able to access, that part of the field outside the numbers and or above 15, 20 yards can really start to do a lot for this offense. It doesn't have to be a dramatic shift, but it can start to help a little bit as we move into another dig. And this, Erik, another one of those kind of, Josh Allen, when he starts to feel it in games, you start to see these type of throws where he steps up to kind of evade or scramble, and then he just fires one in there. We saw it a couple times in this game and on this drive.
And what do you know? First down, play action, letting Josh get into that, playmaker role. But I love this play action concept. One, yes, it's play action. Two, look at the two vertical routes to the top of the screen, by Knox and Samuel. Look at how, again, you're creating that separation between that third level and the second level. And all they're asking Davis to do is run a deep in-breaking route. And he does from the backside. Josh gets outside the pocket, and then Davis kind of tempos down a little bit. Look at this space, guys. Look at the space here between that second and third level. That is why you need speed in Samuel on the field and Elijah Moore on the field. And you want those concepts pushing down the field, threatening down the field to create space, even though really this is kind of like a flood type concept because most of your receivers on the right side of the field. Josh gets outside the pocket, finds Gabe Davis for the big first down in this game. Davis, three receptions for 40 yards. In crucial moments, they went to Gabe. Josh trusts him, and that's not going to change this week as he will be elevated once again to the active roster.
Yeah, nice to see Gabe Davis back in the lineup and contributing, like literally right away. I think it was like the second or third drive where he had a catch and could have had a touchdown if Allen didn't try to throw it through his chest on that quick little slant. Yeah, Allen talked about it after the game too, which was funny. Yeah, good spacing. And even Cook releasing, Dennis, number 8, that linebacker, he nails down on Cook, which helps create even more space for Gabe Davis. I thought the spacing in general was, something we didn't talk about too much leading into this game, but when the passing game was muddy a little bit, you were seeing kind of some spacing issues the past several weeks. And when things were kind of sluggish a bit, there was better spacing in this one across the board. I think this plays a good representation of it. You've got Shakir out in the flat just as an extra safety valve, Samuel going deep, Knox going deep. This is also too kind of from a metric standpoint, not to take it in this direction for the conversation, but this is why the whole like judging someone purely off of like yards per route run and their value, like what Curtis Samuel does here essentially makes this play. Even Knox, what he does makes this play a little bit. Like having guys who can pull coverage, it's not even just about, okay, like can you get open downfield? It's do you have this aspect in your skill set or game that you can pull coverage? And pulling coverage can be just as valuable as getting behind somebody. That's why we wanted speed at the receiver position since not even last offseason, the previous offseason, the past two. We talked about it and what it does and what it can open up, especially if you are a run first team or a run, somewhat dependent team and you want to work in play action. You get those speed dudes to create that separation between the second and third level. And all of a sudden these chunk plays open up where they don't have to be big air yard throws, but it's just, you've got 5 to 7 yards of space because you've got proper spacing, but you got the speed behind it to create it and pull coverage.
Right. And so now we get into the low red zone, rushing touchdown by Josh, 1 of 2. And, we've broken this play down in the past, and the Bills they love to pivot to these type of plays, design QB runs, late in the season when, they're leading into the playoffs. But this was a game, again, they unleashed Josh Allen. And so much so that I'm told that while this looks like a pass run option where Josh can read the leverage of the mic, and if he goes out there with James Cook, he could throw it, he can run it, right? Or if that guy stays in, now Josh can throw it out to Cook and they have leverage, a head on a head out here. We've broken that play down several times in the last few years. I'm told this was a straight up call for Josh to keep it. There's no reading. There's no numbers or space, leverage reads or anything like that. This was a Josh Allen call, which is why he doesn't even look out wide. He's running it and he's able to get in quite easily for the touchdown. This is what I mean by making defenses defend everyone and making defenses defend Josh Allen, not just the passer, but also the runner. Talk about the blocks by McGovern on Knox on this play.
These were so pretty. The blocking you get from these two guys. And I know, and I'm in a similar boat, right? I kind of want to start with a negative to lead to the positive. I understand that what Dawson Knox is getting paid is not ideal. He has the second highest cap hit on the team. it's not really what you want to see at the tight end position if you're paying that much. His blocking and what he's been able to do as he's progressed in this league does not get talked about enough. Look at him seal Yaya Diaby, the edge there, number 0, completely inside. He stalls him out and completely seals him. This isn't like, oh, okay, he just obstructed him and got in his way a little bit. He gets into him. Diaby is giving him resistance and pushing. It does not matter. Knox seals him inside.
Yeah.
He has become such an effective blocker, not just against defensive backs, but against actual edges, linebackers, bigger body types. It's been great to see. So you've got that from Knox, arguably the most important block here because he seals the edge and allows Allen to get around the corner. And then Connor McGovern, 66, getting to the second level immediately. He jumps out of his shoes, gets to David, and look at him get hands on. One hand on the shoulder, rides him. He stays in control, but he widens him out, washes him completely out of the box. Nice to see Spencer Brown in space against the DB, but it really was Knox's block on the edge to seal, and then McGovern at the second level. Dion does some obstruction at the goal line, but like you said, hell of a job by McGovern and Knox. Their 2 blocks were honestly more impressive to me than just like what Allen did. Like their blocks were so functional and physical and important. It was awesome to see. And that's not easy for a center to climb to the second level that quickly while under control and get a linebacker who, though he's older, can still move in Levante David.
Right. And so here's the second one. Same type of thing. They're sending Cook out wide, and Josh made it look like he was going to throw to him. But again, he doesn't. And that was another play that the coordinator told Josh that, hey, you're running this no matter what. This is not a pass run option. I want you to make it look like that, but this is actually just a pin and pull QB run. And Josh is able to run over Winfield for the touchdown to really seal the game. This was that drive. Again, started off with several nice Cook runs when they needed to run, when they needed to, burn the clock, with the lead, but also try to move the ball, matriculate the ball down the field, run some timeout. And they get, this into the low red zone, and they just put the nail in a coffin with this designed QB run to Josh Allen.
Yeah, this is, I alluded to this play earlier. This is kind of how they changed things against the Bucs in 2022, whatever. They started running
springboard
QB.
game.
Yeah.
When we talk to players, and what do they say about that game? That is when we said, you know what? We need to figure out our identity.
Yep.
This was it. Let it rip at halftime. There's a big speech at halftime between the players of saying, hey, we need to step our game up. And that was that springboard game to put them on a run that year, man. And I hope that this is the same type of game.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, they ended up losing that game to Tampa. But like you said, it was a big springboard game from them. They also got screwed on a pass interference call on Carlton Davis on Diggs that was not called, but conversation for another time. But they used Allen's legs. There was a lot of QB pin and pull stuff, and you get that here. So you're going to get the pull from McGovern, 66, and Dion Dawkins, number 73. You are going to get the, quote unquote, the pin from the front side of the line there, Spencer Brown and Dawson Knox. Let's highlight that. Even, I would say, Eric, if you go back before he makes the block on Dennis, look at Knox get into 95, widen him, helps eject him from that fit with Spencer Brown. You get a really strong double team. Yeah, look at him just get widened. Knox helps him. And then the athleticism. Yes, let's get to the second level. Let me get to the linebacker. Then so he turns. After he pushes 95 out with Spencer Brown, he essentially does a 180 as Dennis moves, and then he seals him and creates the crease for Allen to cut off his butt and get directly to the goal line. Good move from Dawkins, or good movement, I should say, from Dawkins, being able to fit through the hole, get to the second level. And then Spencer Brown continues to wash down 95. He turns, he sees Allen, he gives him a nice hug and helps kind of carry him to the goal line a little bit. There's no bones about it. Says this was the touchdown where Allen was laughing like a villain. This one for me was, I thought it was very fitting. I clipped it and put it on Twitter, and I said Josh Mike Allstott Allen. This was very Mike Allstott-esque, fitting that from a Tampa Bay perspective. Look at the cut, puts the foot in the
Steps
ground.
right on Knox's heel, it looks like, and kind of slips.
Yep, but maintains his balance because he's a runaway moose that is coordinated on his feet. And yeah, man, that was a really nice way to finish it with it, being kind of especially in the theme of what we talked about, like, or you talked about it last week, like unleash Josh Allen and them, kind of putting the nail in the coffin and the icing on the cake with a QB pin and pull with some physicality and some oomph to it. Really nice to see, but huge kudos and shout out to the blocking on that one and the previous one. The Bills linemen getting in space on some second level dudes and Allen running behind him. That's an element that if you have to account for that, in addition to the regular run game and some of the pass game stuff that they've started to show, this is, again, we talk about how can you be completely or as indefensible as possible. This is a problem for defenses to account for. I'm interested to see how much of this continues and how much do they want to show or kind of keep in their back pocket a little bit. Especially if, for whatever reason, they don't get the division and they end up being a wild card team and who you have to face and when and how many games you play. Could be nice to have some more things that are kind of hidden so you can play devil's advocate for either way.
All right, so let's real quick. Again, most of our film was for the offense, but I do want to talk about the defense, and we save that for the end where we don't have a lot of time to talk about it, honestly, because it was rough. But it's the same stuff each and every week, and that's why we didn't want to focus on it too much because it's the run defense. 13 rushing first downs for the Bucs, 4 explosive runs, 5.2 yards per attempt, over 200 yards rushing. The Bucs did such a great job of using jet action, using that eye candy, using pullers and adding gaps and subtracting gaps and getting on the perimeter, and just really their run game, is very good. When you're talking just the scheme itself.
And that's with their guards being out. Like that's without missing one of them, especially Cody Mock, who's sweet.
Right. And then you add in the fact that I like Rashad White, Sean Tucker, he's okay, but they don't have Bucky Irving, thank God, because they might have rushed for 500.
Dude, right? He's so good.
So it was rough to watch. And for me, it was mainly at the second level with the Taron Johnsons, Bernard at times, and Matt Milano. But really, man, Taron Johnson's, he's struggling. And most people want to point to him in pass coverage. It's actually his run fits. Man. His inability to stick to his keys has really, really disappointed me. As a big fan of Taron Johnson, he's not sticking to his keys. He's late on his reads. It's almost like he's second guessing his eyes and not trusting his eyes because you don't see those fire your gun moments anymore. And so his leverage has been bad, and it's been just disappointing to see him play. And I'm crediting it, and I'm hoping that it's because of being in and out of the lineup and injured and playing through being hurt. But he needs to knock that rust off soon because we've talked about it. Cam Lewis has looked really good when we're talking that nickel position, and I know he's got versatility and that has value. But it's hard to to see Taron Johnson. I don't think he's on the decline and as an age thing. I don't think he's got too much wear and tear on his body. It's from the shoulders up, in my opinion, and possibly part of that is also being hurt.
Yeah, it's been really frustrating to see because for as much as anyone's always kind of ever complained about him in coverage throughout the years, he's arguably, not even arguably, been the best Bills second or third level run defender for years. We've talked about it all the time even with the whole nickel versus base thing. Yeah, against some teams like the Ravens when they're trotting out Ricard and guys like that. It's okay, we got to go a little bigger. But he was the reason that they could play nickel because even though he's, 6 feet and 190 pounds, he plays like he thought he was Tremaine Edmonds' size or bigger. And his gap shooting and triggering was always so on point. It's part of the reason why there were so many injuries for him throughout the years, because he would be in the box like a heat-seeking missile and just fling his body and upend somebody, or he'd take on a guard or a tight end and mash him and make a play. And you're seeing him overrun some stuff, take bad angles on blocks, not trigger, not really keying the right stuff like you mentioned. And it's been really frustrating to see and disappointing to see, especially with a second level where I know so many people are frustrated with Bernard. And no, I don't think he's playing great necessarily from the shoulders up all the time, but you can tell Bernard's got a busted wheel and he's trying to play through it. You can't have that and then also have other struggles at that second level. And yeah, it's been frustrating to see with Taron because, and we talked about it, what was something earlier in the year, we're it would help get Taron involved more in the box so he can help stymie the run. And it was the opposite here, just where he's fitting, what he's doing. I think this is the
Yeah.
one where he gets washed completely
Washed. Yeah.
by Shepard. Like, you would see him. I don't want to say prime Taron Johnson, but when he's right, that wash or that crack, you don't even get a chance there. He's going to see this and he's going to shoot right now. And that guy is going to either block him in the back or have no shot because he's getting underneath.
He's usually
making the play.
Yeah. He's getting over the top of Walker and getting into this gap to the left of Walker.
Between Bernard and Walker.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like that is the old Taron Johnson. And you're not seeing it. And so that slow recognition there and not, firing your gun gets him picked off by Shepard, the wide receiver. And that's what I mean by that. Like, we're not used to seeing that type of play from him. Usually he's making those splash plays in and around the line of scrimmage. And then the big touchdown, let's see if I can get to it. The big touchdown
where the motion gets him. Motion, it looks like, even
I don't know why he's, again, keying that motion. I don't know why he's looking in the back.
See the double and fit between
it right here, 65, 67. Like, you see that combination block. And usually when you see that, there's a puller coming. You fill this alley.
Right.
And again, you get some Bosa kind of squeezing down. So this play is able to bounce out wide. But those are the type of things that really we haven't seen. And to add insult to injury here, not only does he screw up, that read and key, but look what he does. He actually picks off his own player.
Yeah.
He picks off Bernard.
And he makes the block even easier for K-Dot in 88.
And that's what I mean.
Yeah,
it makes it that much easier. So now Bernard's not fast flowing over the top. And this is what's happened many times in the run and pass game. So at the end of this play, I want you to watch Bernard on the left side of the screen here. Look where his eyes go to. They go right to Taron Johnson. And this happened several times in this game. And that's what I mean. Like, and not even just in the pass game or in the run game. It happened in the pass game too. There's a deep over route hit between the second and third level. And Bernard's, and most people were like criticizing Bernard on that play, like he was lost. I saw that several times. But if you watch to the end of that play, Bernard tells Taron Johnson, like, hey, you were supposed to communicate. There was an overcoming. There's some kind of communication that was missing. And what do you see Taron Johnson do? He just goes like, he screwed up. Like, you can obviously tell he screwed up and didn't do something. He was actually kind of like guarding dirt on the backside of the play.
Yep.
So it disappoints me. And I hope it's part of the issue is he's hurt. Part of the issue is he's working through obviously that injury or being hurt, but also, again, the rustiness and the lack of continuity at that second level. Milano, you saw the big play he gave up to Tucker in the passing game.
Yeah. Well, why are we not pushing here? What are we doing?
I don't know. That's a game plan thing. It obviously. So on that, what Anthony's talking about, like, relay what that means, because we've broken down push before.
We usually talk about it from the other side because the Bills run the Bucs ran mesh rail, and the Bills do that all the time. Sorry, I'm frustrated with that play so much.
No, and you're right. And so what happened on that Tucker play where, he's in the backfield, he runs that rail route up the numbers, and Milano doesn't stay over the top. And obviously it's a wide open touchdown for Tucker. Well, usually what happens is Milano, as soon as that running back exits the box, he'll call a push, which they're in man coverage there. So Cole Bishop will let his guy go who went inside, pass that tight end over to Milano, and then Bishop will stay over the top so that they're not chasing coverage or they're not chasing receivers. And that would give the defense the ability to maintain the leverage. Well, they didn't do it there. Now, if you look earlier in the game versus White, who was in the backfield, they pushed versus him. So I think it was game plan specific because obviously Rachaad White, very, very good receiving back. He actually used to play receiver. He actually was in the film room a few years ago coming out of college.
We talked about how much we liked him coming out of Arizona State. We were like, oh, hey, man, a day 3 running back, the Bills could add Rachaad White. And then the Bills took James Cook on day 2 instead.
So they pushed when White was in there as a running back out of the shotgun formation. But on Tucker, he only had like 5 receptions in this game for like 4 yards. So they were probably like, oh, Milano can handle it. But
he looked
Milano
like LaDainian Tomlinson against the Yeah. So
it's just that second level, man. Again, I think part of it's being hurt and injuries and working back, but also they haven't worked together all that often this year, week in and week out. They're pushing it and they feel that pressure. And they're also trying to still work out some of those new kinks and new techniques that the staff has given them this offseason.
Yeah, I'm in lockstep with you there. I refuse to believe that Taron is just fallen off a cliff
Yeah.
completely, and so much of it, yeah, is mental, and you don't know with him being banged up and all the second level guys really being banged up, especially Bernard and Taron. You're sitting there thinking like, and they're playing in these games, right? But you don't know how many reps are they really getting in practice. Like, are they getting the flow and comfortability and where they should be? And especially if they're working through new stuff or if they're working through, I don't know, maybe more of a new play caller and guy running the show on defense, aka Sean McDermott kind of taking over more for Babbage and what he's done differently. And I think it's a lot of things from the neck up, like you said, adding up. And again, and him playing banged up and maybe a little bit, mileage on the tires or whatever, however somebody wants to play it. But it's been disappointing to see. And they need him to be on point. They need him to kind of be somewhat of that equalizer for them going forward with what he's done, unless they're gonna sit Bernard to let him get healthier so he can be good down the stretch. They should do that anyway. But yeah, it's just kind of everything adding up together with that second level and some of the struggles that we've seen a bit, which has been really frustrating.
I mean, one guy that didn't struggle, whether we're talking defense or special teams, was Dorian Williams. And I think we saw a cool little adjustment and role for him late in this game on defense. But I want to start with special teams because as I was going through the film, I started watching Tyrell Shavers, his offensive film, but also his special teams. And then when I'm watching these special teams reps, Shavers is over here. So I'm watching this and I'm watching, obviously, the big returns as they unfold. And I'm like, holy crap. Dorian Williams was huge for these big returns against the Bucs. You see him there kind of absorbing the blow from the guy covering the kick. And then you see him, watch him here. Boom, look, get in front of him and then run his feet. Boom, look at the cut off of that block by Dorian Williams. Another big return by Davis. Here's him, going down there and just covering the kick there, making a tackle. He was awesome on special teams, and admittedly, I don't watch a lot of special teams reps, but he was so good. Look at this one. The guy gets by him on this return. Dude, he's doing stuff like offensive lineman. Look at him go back door and say, okay, I'll just go around the back, almost like a slingshot technique, and get that block there to seal that alley for another big return. Just fun stuff from Dorian Williams on the kick returns for the Bills.
Yeah, that previous one was really great because you see guys panic in that moment and they'll block the guy in the back and be like, uh-oh, like, let me try and do something. You get a penalty, but he just stays poised and moves his feet and uses his athleticism and, again, stays under control, makes a nice block. It was nice to see him kind of make these plays on special teams and in conjunction with some of the plays he's making on defense as they, I think small sample size, of course, but I think we all saw what Michael Hoyt can mean to this Bills defense, and him going down was frustrating to see. And so you're like, okay, how can we cobble that kind of role together? And then teams that are going to go heavier, like we're showing here, like, okay, we got to go base and Shaq isn't ready. Like, do we bring Dorian in? He's kind of playing banged up. But more often than not, watching him take on blocks. This one I really like because he gets spiked by Rashad White. Kudos to him on that stiff arm, but he just rolls through it and then gets up and is like, okay, where is he? All right, cool. Let me make the tackle. Like the effort, the tenacity. He had a couple real nice plays in this game. That one, I wanted to see him squeeze inside a little bit more tighter. And stay tighter. Because they had a 2-on-1 with him and Poyer on that puller. This one was one of my favorites. He takes on that tight end, plays right through him, makes the stop on Tucker. You got length, you got size, you got physicality, you got some juice, play it, use it. This one was nice too. Stop in the hole. It's nice to see him kind of continuing to step up and make plays, especially with, I don't know, Matt Milano probably doesn't come back next year. Does that mean Dorian Williams is it Dorian and Bernard? Are they bringing in someone else? Like, he's got a real opportunity to kind of stake his claim as the dude who's waiting in the wings to take over for Matt Milano and start to become a regular fixture in this defense and not just like a substitute or the third guy in.
Yeah, he brings, obviously the athleticism and length, but, some of that physicality as well. Here you see him dropping out, doing a nice job of roboting there as Ibuka comes across the field. But, it's this stuff right here. Because in the first half, you saw the Bills use kind of that Michael Hoyt package, that Joker package. Solomon was kind of that guy in Michael Hoyt's role. And there were times where Baker was just extending the play, extending the drive, just getting outside the pocket. In the second half, the Bills said, you know what? We're going to use that odd mirror package where we're rushing three a majority of the time in those high leverage situations and kind of spy with Dorian Williams and just let those three rushers go ahead and do their thing. And so the Bills pivoted to this, but they didn't just say, you know what, we're going to always rush Reed. They said, you know what, there are going to be times where we're actually going to rush and add Dorian as a rusher. And they used him to, create some rubs, some picks, some twists for other guys. But also there were plays where Dorian, and you'll see it here, where he runs that twist with Solomon, gets a nice little lane, and then more importantly, gets his hands up to bat the pass down. So, we're trying to think about people that can replace and do some of the stuff Hoyt does. Solomon's going to be kind of that guy. I think you're going to see Dorian over the next few weeks, and especially in the playoffs, kind of be that role as well, to, hey, let the three guys go, not worry about the contain rushing and guys like Baker getting outside the pocket. You know what? We're going to rush three, pin your ears back and rush the quarterback. And then Dorian will be that, that spy, that aggressive spy that we've seen Milano be in prior years.
Yeah, I think that can really lean into who and what he is as a player, and not even just at this stage, but overall. Like anything that you can have him just be kind of see ball, get ball, just go use your length and your physicality and the juice. Like he plays with all of those things regularly. The thing that you want to see him continuing to improve on is the processing and his feel and coverage and space, which he showed a little bit in this one, like you showed with that robot. But it's you got a guy like that, and you're trying to replace somewhat of a unicorn on your roster and Michael Hoyt up front, and take a next man up is kind of like, okay, let's get this guy who's long and strong and fast and violent and just see if we can get him on the field. It's hard to keep dudes like that off the field, and he's been a really nice addition. In those odd mirror packages, he really is the perfect like aggressive spy type of dude, because there's so much you can do with him as a battering ram or as a chase down guy, and things that are really just, and I'm not saying that he can't think or is dumb. I don't want anyone to take that in that direction, but making things just be like, hey man, go be
see ball,
big.
Get ball.
That's it. Go be strong and fast and violent. Go do that. Don't worry about reading X or reading Y. Just go be a heat seeking missile and just do that all the time. It's really nice to see. And again, they can use it, especially with the competition they see, who they face, and some of the injuries they've had up front.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And Brandon Day asks, has Bosa still been effective with his wrist injury, or has he taken a step back? Just curious what you see on film. Yeah, you can tell that injury is definitely affecting his play. And the D line with the injuries, including his, they have taken some hits, especially when you're looking at some of the pressure rates, as you can right here, courtesy of True Media. Pressure percentage all the way to the far right. You could see the last couple of games, 28%, 21%, when we talked about how effective the defense has been from a pass rush perspective and how the coverage has been just a little bit off. I feel like since McDermott's taken over, it's been the opposite, where the coverage, actually the rotations and the coverages and the diversity and the timing of the calls and the non-spot dropping has been fantastic. The pattern matching has been great since McDermott's taken over. But now I feel, because of the injuries and some of the issues they've had there, the pressure percentage and the pressure hasn't quite been there. So now it's like it's been flipped on its head. And so I do think that, yes, the pressure percentages have suffered, but I do think that the coverages have forced opposing quarterbacks to kind of second guess themselves and hold on to the ball a little longer, just like that last play in this game that Baker held the ball, took the hit, and fumbled the ball. Like that is what I think McDermott has added the most when we're talking taking over play calling on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, that was a great, effort and work through by Daquan to get the sack and force the fumble, but that coverage generated that. And yeah, I completely agree. It's been the changes in coverage, what we're seeing, the matching, like you mentioned, just the lack of dudes just covering grass. We're getting more like, hey, let's actually cover bodies. And you're seeing that throughout. And I've liked what they've done so much on the back end. Because we can't have nice things, we're getting that. And it's coupled with, lack of pressure up front, lack of dudes getting home. Like even a game against the Bucs was somewhat representative of that. There were some times where they brought some cool pressure looks and Baker was able to just get out the front door or step under someone and get around. And there were so many times where, like, I wanted to clip something and I was like, oh, this is really nice, but it's a failure and it's annoying. Like they had some good things schematically and structurally, but individually it's just not coming. And I'm hoping if they keep at it, we'll see kind of things turn a bit. I think Bosa and his wrist has been a huge piece. He was as advertised for the heavy
Yeah.
majority of this year. Like I remember putting out, even back as a couple weeks ago, like he was top 10 in almost any advanced metric you wanted as a rusher with, win rate and pass rush productivity.
And he's a power guy. So not
Yes.
having your hand or wrist, like it's going to affect his play.
Yeah. I mean, 2 weeks ago, he had a friggin' club on his hand.
Yeah.
And then this week, like he doesn't have the club anymore, but you can still see that's impeding him and what he's doing. And yeah, like his hand usage is important. Placement, power, pop, shock, shed, everything in those hands. And he's really not able to use one of them. It's definitely impacting him. And I think it's having a big effect across the board. And in an ideal world, you'd love to see somebody else step up. You'd love to see more, Rousseau kind of get after it a bit, or Solomon start to win a little bit, or, Epinesa's making some nice plays against the run. If he can get something going, you need someone to kind of pick up the slack in some way, shape, or form. Because he was really kind of carrying him a bit there, Bosa, that is. And with him being banged up, we're starting to see a drop there. And then we start to get into the snake chasing its tail with who's letting down who, coverage, pass rush, all that kind of stuff. Definitely been frustrating.
Yeah, it's definitely been frustrating, but overall, we're happy with that output against the Bucs itself. And obviously some meat on the bone still if you're talking the offense and Josh Allen. And so I know it's a short week. This is going to be a short-lived content from us in the film room, but obviously we'll have your post-game film room maybe this weekend sometime. Probably won't make you wait all the way to Wednesday.
Yeah.
But with that said, man, what's your thoughts on this game tomorrow night? How you feeling about that matchup?
From a schematic standpoint and like football standpoint, I'm super excited. Like Stingley and Lassiter and Anderson and Daniil Hunter, and there's no Petrie in this game likely for Houston, so that's a blow to them. But Houston has several really fun dudes on their defense. They're really well coached. They all just play like as a unit. They just play like a bunch of velociraptors. They're all violent and angry.
Scheme, yeah,
it's awesome. Al-Shaair is kind of dirty and not great, but it is what it is. I like Henry Toto coming out of Bama. So, with what he's been doing with Houston, I'm excited schematically. They have a great defense. They're a great unit. I think it's a great test for the Bills. I'm also very nervous because it is a big test for the Bills. I think that the Texans are built well to still kind of be in the mold of how to challenge this Bills offense, which is, hey, we're going to dare you to try and beat our really good corners on the outside. And we're going to, we try to win on early downs and force you into 3rd and long so that our amazing edge rushers can go hunt on 3rd down and try and give you some problems. We saw what happened last year in Houston where that formula worked very well for the Texans for the heavy majority of that game. I think it'll be a big test for the Bills offense. And it's also too, what's annoying, it's on a short week. So if the Bills succeed, is it like, okay, was it a short week? If the Bills falter, is it like, well, it was a short week? That variable's in there and a bit annoying, but I'm excited for it really because of that side of the ball and the Bills defense, or the Bills offense, I should say, continuing. Can they continue this momentum against arguably the best defense in the entire league that is well coached, well designed, and full of playmakers?
Right. Stick to the script, of last week. And, they're going to have to, I do think the game script for this is I think they have to get out early. I think they have to come out in rhythm, get out ahead and play ahead because of, no Stroud in this game. And so I think that's gotta be the plan, at least initially, is to get out ahead and to really strike early and often. And so, there's going to be pressure on Josh. There's going to be pressure and they're going to speed him up and he's got to just maintain his composure and just, again, take those easy plays early because they're going to want to throw some haymakers to kick off this game because they want to do the opposite of what I just said. And so I do think they are going to have a good plan. I do think they have the horses on defense of the Texans to really give Josh and this offense some issues. And so, protecting the ball as best you can is going to be important and just getting into the right plays. That may be the game plan with Brady and Josh Allen, the portion of the playbook to just get into the proper play against what you're going to see and minimize those negative plays is probably going to be the storyline of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I get out early, try and get the run game going. They got to avoid 3rd and longs. I don't want to get into that against Anderson and Hunter. And some real quick numbers for those in case you care. The Texans, 4th lowest average time to pressure at 2.54 seconds. They have the fastest Average pass rush get off at 0.8.
That's
then
crazy.
it's absolutely nuts. And then if you look at them holistically, kind of like as a defense, what are they? EPA per play, they are first in EPA per play at negative 0.18. They are first in EPA per pass at negative 0.25. And from an EPA per rush standpoint, they are 10th at negative 0.07. And that's with really struggling all year on offense. That defense has continuously done work despite the fact that they're put in disadvantageous situations and the fact that they're tops of the league in so many categories, knowing that the Broncos are a really good unit and they're besting the Broncos while essentially having no offense at the same time. It just speaks really well to, again, how they're coached, how they game plan, how they prepare, and the dudes that they have on that side of the ball. Erik, as we start to wind down here and say goodbye, what are you focusing on for Bills, Texans as we go forward with, again, almost 24 hours out from game time?
Like I said, I just think that Josh is going to have to play smart in this game. Do I want him to rip it and unleash, who he is as a player? Absolutely. But he's got to know those moments. He's got to feel those moments. He's got to sense those moments, because this is one of those defenses that will make you pay if you are half a click off decision wise, if you're half a click off placement wise on your passes. And you don't want to make things easier for that, Houston offense. And so with that in mind, Josh has to play super smart in this game. And I think he realizes that he's got a fight on his hands, and he realizes that last year he said it straight up that he did not play well against them. And so he's got something to prove, but I hope he's in the moment and understands that it's got to be selected. It's got to be calculated when he needs to take those shots, or when he needs to push things a little more, or when he needs to put on the cape to make those big plays.
Yeah, they had a quality unit on the defensive side of the ball. It's going to be opposing him, and I know how good they are there. And I know Davis Mills has snaps under his belt. I really don't want to lose to a Davis Mills-led Texans offense. Oh my God, especially with where the Bills are right now. I don't want to be in that world. I don't want to hear it. We'll see what happens in this game.
Red zone too, right? Like if they get into the red zone, they have to score. It looks like, according to True Media, the Bills are 5th overall in offensive red zone efficiency at 66.7%. The Houston defense is 28th.
I was going to say they don't get led a lot of teams into the red zone, but when they do, they give up a lot of touchdowns.
Yes. So that is the key. Again, that's when you put on the cape. Yeah. That's when you unleash Allen as a runner and as a passer. Make him, let him go ahead and make those plays that he's been known to make, especially in the red zone.
Yeah, this is a game with the unit that you're playing against. You kind of got to pull out all the stops and all the tricks a little bit. Enough is, again, get out. Let's get out to 14-0, 17-0 lead, and then we'll kind of put everything back in the trunk a little bit and have the Bills defense hopefully be able to carry things out against that Texans offense that has struggled for the majority of the year. Whatever happens in that game, positively or negatively, we will have you covered here in the film room, likely sometime over the weekend. We're not going to sit and wait until next, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever the hell. We'll get you the film room sometime before the end of this week. So stay in touch and in tune on the socials, here on the YouTube channel, the audio platforms. We will be dropping that content as soon as we possibly can following the Bills Thursday night game. So sometime at the end of this week. We hope you folks enjoyed this episode. Thank you for everybody who tuned in live and probably blew off work or whatever you were doing in the middle of the day. We appreciate you folks for tuning in live with us here on this episode. If you enjoyed this content, please drop a like here on this video on the YouTube channel. Likes are the lifeblood of these streams. Turn on notifications for the film room playlist. Subscribe to the Cover One channel. Check out all the content across the brand. If you're listening on one of the podcasting apps or platforms, that is very much appreciated as well. Please rate, review, and subscribe on those audio platforms. And regardless of what form your episode consumption comes in, I should say, tell your family, friends, loved ones, all that. Word of mouth and just that organic support is tremendously important to us. No doubt. Also tremendously appreciated. And yeah, thank you to everybody who tuned in live. Thank you to everyone who watched post live, who listened, whatever have you. We appreciate all you folks and are tremendously thankful for you. Thank you very much to Joe DeRosa, our man behind the scene, as always. And yeah, We hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe. Be kind to one another. Take care of one another. For myself, Anthony Prohaska, for the founder of Cover One, Mr. Eric Turner, we will see you at some other time this week as we do Bills Texans. But until then, Godspeed. And as always, go Bills.